Hi, I'm Laura, founder of Fertility Avenue, providing emotional, physical, and well-being support to women who are having a difficult fertility journey. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Melanie Shah from Melanie Shah Therapies. Melanie is an integrative coach who brings together EFT, NLP, hypnotherapy, and life coaching to help people feel better and happier. So welcome, Melanie, to this program today.
Thank you for having me, Laura.
So today we're going to be talking about the power of a really important technique that could be a game changer for your general life journey and particularly for fertility journey. And it's a technique that I know Mel uses a lot with her therapy and coaching, and I also use it a lot too. It's called Emotional Freedom Technique, also known as EFT, or you may have known it as energy tapping. Now, if you've ever felt overwhelmed, anxious, or just stuck whilst trying to conceive, this episode today is especially for you. So, find a spot to sit back, relax, go and grab a cup of tea, and let's explore how this gentle yet really powerful technique can support your mind, your body, and heart on the pathway to parenthood. So first of all, Mel, a huge welcome to the podcast. Would you like to maybe talk about a little bit about who you are and maybe with a main focus on the EFT in particular, and maybe a little bit about what it is, and we can have a conversation for our listeners?
Okay, so what might be helpful is a quick background about how I came to find out about EFT. And I would say that through my life journey, I found myself with chronic fatigue for a period of time. And I found a way to grow through that process. One of the techniques being used was EFT, and it's just tapping on the endpoints of the meridians in the body, creating a vibration in certain locations in the body which interrupts negative emotions that you might feel. And you might feel those negative emotions consciously, but often they're unconscious. And so the kind of work I do is to enjoy the client in front of me, get to know them, and then learn what makes them tick, what presses their buttons, and find those locations where they probably are not aware of that need a little bit of encouragement to come to the surface safely, and then let it go. And
Amazing.
Then that naturally makes you start to feel better.
Absolutely fantastic. They do say, I think, that EFT is an emotional version of acupuncture, but without the needles.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
So it's a really effective way of helping anybody, but particularly for my fertility clients, they find it a really great way of dealing with those energy blocks, helping to process trauma or any emotions that might be in their way. Maybe they're feeling anxious about getting pregnant. So yeah, it was developed by a guy called Gary Craig, I think back in the 1990s.
Yes, so Gary Craig learnt from a gentleman called Ian Callahan, who had developed thought field therapy. And what Gary Craig realized is that you didn't need to have specific logarithms to open up different emotions. If you just tapped on every single place, you could get there anyway. Gary Craig, a very interesting guy that found out that you don't necessarily always need to get to the answer the difficult way. You can sometimes just go straight into the energy of a situation. Interestingly, he was an engineer. And so he sidestepped the whole psychological route and was able to help a lot of people, especially with PTSD from war veterans, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he was able to help them sleep at night after not being able to do for 27 years, etc. So I've seen his actions I've seen what he's been able to do. And I am pleased to say that I have also experienced that privilege of seeing somebody with real issues come through and feel like, what issue? What issue did I even have? Because it's not that you're trying to solve the problem just dissipates
Yeah. Yeah.
because you are shaking up the energy and letting it go.
Amazing. It's such a powerful technique. And when it comes to fertility, it can obviously make a huge difference. Because when my clients come to me, they're at heightened levels of stress and overwhelm and anxiety. And so for that, it can have a direct impact on their reproductive health. So
Yeah.
by reducing that stress response, so they're constantly in that state of fight and flight or freeze mode. So that immediate survival, it all affects the reproductive system and has that knock-on effect. So would you like to talk a little bit about that and how EFT helps with the stress response? So helping to reduce it, and then inadvertently it'll be helping to rebalance the reproductive area.
Yes, so you could put this in the way of you come to a pregnancy or you come to a decision that you'd like to become pregnant. And so then you have probably quite a long list of specific desires for outcomes that you would like,
Mm-hmm.
which creates a certain level of stress. You also have a certain number of memories of what's happened to you in the past when you've wanted something to happen or how important this is. And if you have a real strong connection to an outcome and then it doesn't go how you're expecting to do, then you can find yourself playing mental games with yourself,
Yeah, that
blaming
internal
yourself.
dialogue. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, blaming yourself, blaming the partner, all of those kinds of things. And then that snowballs into relationship issues, all kinds of
Hmm.
stuff. And that's just building up the system up and up and up and building more stress. So when you start tapping, you bring it back down into the body. And when you bring it down to the body enough, you can start to notice cognitive shifts. If you're not being controlled by your emotions that you may not necessarily even be aware of, you start to think more clearly. Therefore, you make better decisions. The way you react or respond to situations is calmer. And so you have a snowballing happiness effect.
And then,
And
and then
then,
there's a body shift that it goes from more like stress to safety, I suppose, which then has a knock-on effect, helping the body to be a more receptive environment for conception.
absolutely, yes. Happy mother, safer sensations, the vagus nerve
Yeah.
is calmed down, the parasympathetic system is in better shape, and then everything starts to operate normally. You can look at pregnancy like many different things in the body. How's your digestion? How's your skin? How's your liver? All these things need to be supported nutritionally, but also emotionally.
Absolutely. So it has a huge a wide range of impacts, I guess. So we touched upon obviously regulates the nervous system, which plays, as you mentioned, the parasympathetic rest and digest state, which is essential for hormonal balance as well.
Yes, definitely, for all those balances. So this can be used across a wide range. And so we can consider this as when you have that client coming to you that would like to fall pregnant, it may not just be around the pregnancy.
No.
So it's worth looking at the entire aspects of what's going on here. And you might be able to fix something over here, which then makes this work better. And then it
It all
also,
aligns, comes together, a bit like a jigsaw piece, isn't it? Something might just be out of
yes,
line, even if you're not necessarily expecting that to be the reason. Wow, okay. And going back to something, releasing emotional blocks, again, you touched upon. So a lot of my clients come to me with sort of past trauma. Maybe it's around past pregnancy loss,
Yeah.
or it could be a medical diagnosis, or years of trying to conceive, or months of trying to conceive without success. So again, EFT can support these emotional blocks, can't it?
Yes. So, what I might say there is if you go for normal therapy or if you try to just sort of talk this through, you might often say, well, let's just be positive. Let's be positive. Let's be
Mm,
positive. But if you do that, let's be positive too much, you're putting a lid on the negative stuff underneath.
yeah.
Now, I do believe that speaking negatively all the time is not helpful unless you're tapping. And when you're tapping, that gives a chance for it to be felt and heard. And when your body feels felt and heard, that's when it starts to feel safer. It doesn't need to scream anymore.
Mhm.
And that's when things will start to happen more naturally.
Brilliant. So it releases those emotional blocks, shifts limiting beliefs. So that it's a really multifaceted technique, isn't it? That covers a lot. It also boosts confidence and hope as well.
Yes, it does. Yes. And there's all kinds of techniques for dealing with confidence directly.
Mhm.
Um, Hope, yes. Hmm.
Sure about the word hope.
Hope's an interesting word
Words,
because
yes.
it's sort of about you just do what you can.
Yeah.
If you're hoping, then I guess there's a connection to an outcome, and it's more about trusting in your body. So I would say EFT can build on trusting your body.
Body and the mind as well.
But well, the mind and
And
the body
body
learn
work,
to trust
working.
each
Yeah.
other more
Yeah.
so. So what I was probably worth noticing there was when you were saying that you get clients coming with different memories of what they've worked with, and that can get in the way of moving forward with a
Mhm.
pregnancy. EFT is at its most powerful when you're working with very specific memories.
Right.
So, if you're talking about this and you're tapping, the more specific you can be, the better. And you would look at all the modalities. So you would think about, for instance, a movie that you can remember yourself in.
Hmm.
What happened during that time? What did you hear, see, smell, taste, perhaps? All those things can leave residual emotion inside that memory. So the practitioner would be using those techniques to drag out every little aspect of those memories that were tough. And, we can probably count quite a few in that arena, Laura.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. And when you with those with the memory, what you were just been talking about, are you reliving the memory? Is the client reliving it, or are you looking at it from so you're looking back on it?
So a bit of both there. So you really want to keep the person in the present, give some detachment to the memory. So, for instance, I might suggest, okay, see this picture in the background, pretend it's a cinema screen, and you're watching yourself. So,
Hmm.
therefore, you've externalized yourself from the memory. And that distance can help you to remember it, but not the full force of it. And with the tapping as well, one of the main, most important approaches is to move in slowly. So we might start with the title and we will tap on that title until you feel comfortable to take the next step. So the most important thing is to not rush this,
Yeah.
is to take it very carefully so that the client is constantly feeling safe.
Absolutely. It's all about providing the parameters, safety parameters. So it's not something where you're going to be digging up the whole past and all the traumas coming with it and then leaving the room completely more triggered than when you perhaps arrived. So it's all about dealing with it in a really safe, comfortable environment.
Definitely. The most important thing.
Okay, great. And EFT is also really valuable for my clients when they're going through assisted treatments. So, going through whether it be IVF or ICSI or another type of treatment, because that in itself is really a stressful part of a lot of the journeys that they're on. And I know that EFT can help reduce that emotional toll and improve resilience. But the beauty of EFT is that the clients can do it on themselves in the moment as well. I remember having an MRI scan about a year ago, and it's quite a daunting experience, very loud noises, etc., etc. And I remember doing some virtual tapping on myself, so I couldn't touch my body. But when I was lying in the machine, I imagined I was tapping on the various points and was just tapping on whatever part of the body I was able to touch. So are you able to talk a little bit more about how a client can use it on themselves outside of a session with a therapist, such as you or me?
Yes. So I would like to just let you know very happily, Laura, I've just seen a client through from an intention to have IVF all the way through to her having her baby.
Oh, fantastic.
And so, yeah, we tapped through that, her experiences as she had the program,
Yeah.
and also the other things that just happened as normal. And she had a really smooth journey, which is there for everybody. Uh,
Amazing.
so tapping, I would recommend two different ways of tapping on yourself. One is as a choice, say on a daily basis for 5 or 10 minutes, where you set aside time, a bit like doing a meditation, and you'll just tap on yourself. Are we going to do a demo at some point, Laura?
We're going to do a demo. It's going to have to be quite a vocal demo because there's going to be some people that are
Oh,
going to
yes.
be listeners, and then they're going to be some viewers. So we just need to make sure when we do the demo, we are saying which part of the body you are tapping on.
Perfect. And then the other way, besides the meditation, is to tap right in the middle of you having that concern.
Mhm.
So I've worked with people with panic attacks and that kind of thing. Sometimes it is right in the moment that the best value happens. Your whole body is stimulated and it's vibrating at that place of panic or anxiety or stress. And if you start tapping right at that moment, you're going to interrupt that.
Yeah.
And therefore, you are very surprisingly find that you're feeling better quite quickly.
Quickly calm yourself down. That's also, yeah, amazing. Well, I think that leads us on towards the very good moment to be able to do maybe a short tapping session together. So are you happy, Mel, to lead a short tapping session? I will follow you, so I'm the client. Maybe something around fertility, as this is where my most of my listeners will be, brought in by. So I don't know if there's something around fertility, maybe something that's
Okay.
happened, something that's happened in the past. I don't know, and then listeners can follow in and copy what you're doing.
Okay, that sounds good. So, would you like me to do a setup first, Laura, or just go
Yes.
straight into
No, I
tapping?
think setup's really important because that's a really important part of the round of tapping. We need to talk about the setup statements.
And would you like to repeat after me
Yes,
to
I'll
sort of
repeat after you
kick
as though,
that
as
in?
though we were doing it in a client session.
Okay. All right. So, tapping on the side of the hand. Even though I really want to get pregnant and I'm
Even,
concerned about it, I accept myself.
so even though I really want to get pregnant and I'm concerned about it, I accept myself.
Even though I'm worried about this IVF, I'm okay.
Even though I'm worried about this IVF treatment, I'm okay.
Even though I don't know if it's going to work for me, I love and accept myself.
Even though I don't know if it's going to work for me, I love and accept myself.
And then we go to tapping on the inside of the eyebrow, just using the two fingers, either side of either hand is fine.
Mhm.
And then we might say a simple phrase, falling pregnant.
Falling pregnant.
Then we might tap on the outside of the eye. I hope I can do it.
I hope I can do it.
Tapping under the eye. What if it doesn't work?
What if it doesn't work?
Tapping under the nose. That terrible memory of what happened last time.
That terrible memory of what happened last time.
Tapping under the mouth. How will my family feel?
How will my family feel?
Tapping on the collarbone, just above the chest, around that area. How I feel about that in my body.
How I feel about that in my body.
Tapping or patting under the arm. Either side is fine. Um, where I'm noticing that, right there in my, for example, chest.
Where I'm noticing that right in my chest.
Tapping all the way around the top of the head. Everything I feel about this moment.
Everything I feel about this moment.
And then you also have points on the fingers, so you can tap on each finger, and it can be the left side hand and the right hand. So on the thumb, just tapping on the thumb, this feeling I have right now,
This feeling I have right now,
the next finger, that memory,
that memory.
the next finger, I wish I didn't have that memory,
I wish I didn't have that memory.
the next finger, what's going to happen to me?
What's going to happen to me?
Last finger, what if it doesn't work?
What if it doesn't work?
Swapping over to the other hand, how will I cope?
How will I cope?
This anxiety I feel
This anxiety I feel
right there in my tummy,
right there in my tummy,
that gurgling feeling.
that gurgling feeling.
It's so uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable.
And then we'll just tap on the wrist. That's a great place for overwhelm. So if anyone is feeling particularly overwhelmed or they're in a public space, it's great to just tap on that space as well. And that is the general formula. We've got a few other tricks up our sleeves, but that's the main thing that can help you through. And I would probably say, Laura, that the language is not important. They're just reminder phrases. It's more
Right.
important to sense what your feeling is, what your emotion is, and where you feel it in your body. They're the two main things I would stress.
Thank you so much, Melanie. That was absolutely fantastic. And thank you for joining me on the podcast today. Now, before I conclude, just wanting to, for our listeners or viewers, if they would like to contact you for any reason and that would like some specific support there, how can they find you?
So I am simply at melanieshahtherapies.com for ease. So you can find me and you can see what I try to help with. And I try not to be specific. I would really like to help anybody with anything. I love the EFT and I know that it can help in a range of activities. And one more thing I would say is this is energy work. So please drink well if you're
Yeah.
going to do time.
Hydrate yourself. Definitely. Brilliant. So thank you, Mel. Just to conclude then, so if you're on a difficult fertility journey, you're carrying a lot physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And EFT is simple, it's free to do on yourself, and a gentle tool that gives you a moment of calm, escapism almost, a breath of calmness, and a way to connect with that inner wisdom that we all have. So whether you're just starting out or you've been on this journey for a while, I invite you all to start trying tapping. It's a really powerful, effective tool. You deserve to feel supported, safe, no matter what stage of the journey you are in. So I hope you've all enjoyed listening to this podcast. My name is Laura Bloomberg, founder of Fertility Avenue. And until next time, don't forget to gift yourself that much needed self-love. Thank you for listening.